To this communist frog trying to justify Stinky's coup attempt. Roll it!
If a president sells nuclear secrets to a foreign adversary, is that immune?
I want to hear this. What do you have to say, you imbecile?
Sounds like similar to the bribery example, likely not immune. Now, if it's structured as an official act, you'd have to be impeached and convicted first.
What? Really? So, they would have to impeach and convict him first before he overthrew our government, right? Are you insane?
What does that mean if it's structured as an official act?
Well, I don't know in the hypothetical whether or not that
This is not a hypothetical. Your idiot client did this.
would be an official act. You'd probably have to have more details to apply the blazing game.
No, it's very simple. Would it be an official act if he tried to overthrow the government? No, this is what we're talking about, you stammering frog.
Analysis, or even the Fitzgerald analysis that we've been talking about.
How about if a president orders the military to stage a coup?
Uh-oh. I want to hear this. I want to hear what your communist ass has to say. What's the matter, frog? Got your tongue?
As the Chief Justice pointed out earlier, where there's a whole series of, sort of
Judge Kagan.
guidelines against that, so to speak. Like
Guidelines against it? You think?
MJ prohibits the military from following a plainly unlawful act. If one adopted Justice Alito's test, that would fall outside. Now, if one...
What? What are you talking about?
For example, the Fitzgerald test that we advanced, that may well be an official act, and it would have to be...
Yeah. An official act by the President of the United States to overthrow our government. What is wrong with you?
As I'll say in response to all these kinds of hypotheticals, has to be impeached and convicted before he can be criminally prosecuted.
What? You're flailing at this point.
Emphasized to the court.
Well, he's gone. Let's say this president who ordered the military to stage a coup, he's no longer president. He wasn't impeached. He couldn't be impeached. But he ordered the military to stage a coup, and you're saying that's an official act.
Uh-oh.
That's immune.
I think it would depend on the circumstances whether it was an official act.
Depend on the circumstances. He tried it, and now he's in trouble for it. What are you talking about?
Or an official act, again, he would have to be...
Well, what does that mean, depend on the circumstances? He was the president. He is the commander-in-chief. He talks to his generals all the time, and he told the generals, I don't feel like leaving office. I want to stage a coup.
Yeah.
Is that immune?
That's cut and dry. What do you have to say, Stinky Jr.?
If it's an official act, there needs to be impeachment and conviction beforehand because the framers...
What? The framers would have put you in jail, you idiot.
Viewed that kind of...
If it's an official act, is it an official act?
If it's an official act, it's
Is it an official act?
On the way you described that hypothetical, it could...
It's not a hypothetical. It's exactly what he did.
I just don't know. You have to, again...
And you're saying that would be an official act? What is wrong with you? This is mind-blowing stuff. How stupid can you be?
It's a fact-specific, context-specific determination.
That answer sounds to me as though it's like, yeah, under my test, it's an official act, but that sure sounds bad, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it certainly sounds very bad, and that's why the framers have...
It is bad.
And that's why the framers have a whole series...
The framers were not expecting an imbecile traitor like this asshole to ever be elected by your mouth breathers.
of structural checks that have successfully...
What?
234 years prevented that very kind of extreme hypothetical.
It's not a hypothetical. Stop calling it a hypothetical. This asshole tried it.
And that is the wisdom of the framers. What they viewed as the risk that needed to be guarded against was not the notion that the president might escape, a criminal prosecution for something.
What are you trying to do right now? This is absurd.
Sort of very, very unlikely in these unlikely scenarios. They viewed much more likely and much more destructive to the Republic the risk of factional strife discussed by George...
Oh, screw you, you idiot. You're a communist.
Framers did not put an immunity clause into the Constitution. They knew how to. There were immunity clauses in some state constitutions. They knew how to give legislative immunity. They didn't provide immunity to the president. And, not so surprising, they were reacting against a monarch who claimed to be above the law.
Yeah, absolutely. They came over here running from a monarchy, you idiot. This dude is a weasel.
Wasn't the whole point that the president was not a monarch and the president was not supposed to be above the law?
I would say two things in response to that.
Uh-huh.
Immunity, they did put an immunity clause in a sense.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't.
Put in the executive vesting clause, which was originally understood to adopt a broad immunity principle that's set forth in the very broad language of Marbury against Madison.
Blah, 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 blah. You're full of shit. This toad, this smoking toad, is a communist piece of shit. Justice Jackson goes after this imbecile.
So I think I now understand better your position. In your discussions with Justice Kavanaugh, it became clear that you are saying that for the private acts of a president, there's no immunity, but for the official acts of the president, there is immunity. Is that?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Fomenting an insurrection and causing the death of police officers and attacking the government, I would say that's a private act, even if it was an official act. No.
Your position?
I agree with that.
All right. So one thing that occurs to me is that this sort of difficult line drawing problem that we're having with all of these hypotheticals, is this a private act or a public act, is being necessitated by that assumption. Because of course, if official acts didn't get absolute immunity, then it wouldn't matter. We wouldn't have to identify which are private and which are public, correct?
Making a decision to go to war with a country is a lot different than trying to overthrow the government.
That, in fact, is the approach of the D.C. Circuit. There's no determination that needs to be
Right,
made.
but I'm just making, so to the extent we're worried about, like, how do we figure out whether it's private or public, we have to understand that we're only doing that because of an underlying assumption that the public acts
Good Lord. Whether private or public, trying to overthrow the government is against the law. He doesn't get any immunity for that.
So let me explore that assumption. Why is it, as a matter of theory, and I'm hoping you can sort of zoom way out here, that the president would not be required to follow the law when he is performing his official acts? Everyone else.
What do you
lots
think?
Of folks who have very high-powered jobs, who make a lot of consequential decisions, and they do so against the backdrop of potential criminal prosecution if they should break the law in that capacity. And we understand and we know, as a matter of fact, that the President of the United States has the best lawyers in the world.
I beg to differ with that one, Judge Jackson.
When he's making a decision, he can consult with pretty much anybody as to whether or not this thing is
Yeah, he can consult with pretty much anybody. So he consults with Alina Habba.
criminal or not. So why would we have a situation in which we would say that the president should be making official acts without any responsibility for following the law?
Yeah, what say
I
you?
disagree with that characterization. The president.
What? So now you're saying that overthrowing the government isn't against the law?
Absolutely does have responsibility. He absolutely is required to follow the law in all of his official acts. But
Yeah, and overthrowing the government would be what?
a remedy for that is the question. Could he be subject to personal vulnerability, sent to prison for making a bad
Yeah, hell yeah. You overthrow the government, you get sent to prison, you imbecile. These idiots are flailing.